Hello and welcome to another edition of the Tigers Down Under. I'm your host, Alex, and with me I have Dan. How are you feeling, Dan?
Um. Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
No, look.
Tired, frustrated.
Yeah. Look. Those are apt word choices to describe how I'm feeling. It's kind of deja vu in a way as well. Just sort of the.
You would
As,
have been on
as
for the QPR episode, weren't you? So
yeah, probably. I think maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was right.
But just feels like, despite all of the change, it's actually it's much the same again, which is really yeah, really disappointing, really frustrating. It's sad. I think it's sad that so quickly I mean, even last time I was on, we are talking about the positivity of having, I think, the 20,000 at the for the Sheffield game. And was it Sheffield? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. The that, and like, and how we're building and building, and there was lots of good, and like, but just feels like, I mean, it's football. The results are what really ends up mattering, and we're not getting them, and some of that positivity is already eroding um, around Hull City, which is a bit of a shame.
yeah. Um, bit of positivity for me. I got my shirts in the mail, which was great. So I'm wearing the new away shirt, which is nice. So that sort of sparked me up after what was pretty dismal morning. But you're right. We'll jump right into it with the game. I mean, obviously, I guess covering off at the top, we've only got the one game to review. We had our game on the weekend against Cardiff postponed following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. That game presumably will fall in post World Cup at some point in the future. It's going to be interesting to see how that's all rearranged. But it did mean that we had, because did we have a midweek game last week? I'm trying to think. No, we didn't. So it was just the Sheffield United game the previous weekend. So we've had basically 10 days to sort of recover and prepare for this Stoke game. Um, Tete obviously out for Tyler Smith, who came into the lineup. Tete not even named in our final squad submission. So unfortunately, it does seem like he's out for a while. I was saying to Logan last week, it was interesting because he was initially named in the Ghana squad. I think he's Ghanese. He was named in the Ghana squad for these upcoming internationals, which obviously came before the injury. But it's a shame because presumably this rules him out of the World Cup. He would have been going to the World Cup, which is sort of a familiar story for us with Ali presumably ruled out as well. But yeah, look, I mean, just the one change to the lineup with Smith coming in. Um, and I guess we were sort of saying before this episode, I guess it was just more of the same, wasn't it? It was more of the same sort of frustrations.
Yeah, it's very, very strange and very frustrating to watch. The it's like the same game, just with different colored shirts each week. Like, the we managed to, jag a few points and some wins with some bright moments in those early on in the season. But it feels like now that everyone's sort of up to speed and we're around that, we're at 9 games, we're almost at the 10 game mark where you start making your judgments about, where we sit and how we're playing. And, I, I think 9 game. I'm just going to go a game early. Think make and just make my comments. But it's really, when we're not traveling good enough, particularly for the aspirations of Ajun in the owner, of the aspirations of that Shota has mentioned as manager, the aspirations of the fan base at large. The performances are not up to scratch. The results aren't coming. They don't look close to coming at the moment. And it's super, super frustrating, and it feels really awkward because, like, in the last couple of times I've been on, I've been really, really positive about what we're doing, but, like, we just haven't looked like we're at the races at all in the last couple of games. And this morning was just what seemed like, and I think it was mentioned by us a few times, that Stoke seems to be a bit of a bogey side for us, but they weren't really that good. And
Yeah.
that's the frustrating part.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was last week with Logan or if it was with you after the QPR game where I made the comments. But I guess my concern's been sort of growing for a while about the nature of our performances, and even in those wins against the Norwiches and the Coventry, and even the draw with Preston, I think is probably the other one off the top of my head, where we were coming away with points and we're getting the wins, but the opposition was having more of the ball or they were having more chances. Burnley was probably, and Bristol City on the opening day, probably the only two I can think of where we pretty much matched them. And, Bristol City sort of parked the bus after they scored anyway. So maybe you say that's why they didn't have as many chances. Burnley, maybe it was just a great result. But other than that, we've been reasonably dominated across the park. And now you can say that's injuries or what have you. But as I must have been with Logan, I think I said, if that's the case, surely you adjust your formation, you adjust your tactics to make do with the players you have available. Because we've conceded the most goals in the league. We've conceded the second most in the entire football league, just behind Burton. Also, my red flag preseason was, conceding too many goals, and I mean, look, it's going to make for a really interesting game this weekend because I almost feel like this weekend is getting close to the final straw for Shotta, I would say. I mean, Ajun maybe won't be that trigger happy, I don't know. But he's put a lot of money into this side and he's doing a lot to build the crowds and build the excitement. As you say, we don't want that feel-good factor going away. And the results in the last 3 games just haven't been good enough.
Yeah, I feel like I was trying to figure out like what is a safe point. Like this morning when I was looking at the fixture list and like when the World Cup is and how many games we got until then, because I was like, oh, maybe like you let him go to the World Cup and then you got a month off. So if you had to make a call, then at least your new manager would have like a month, to work
It's a
with the
mini
squad.
preseason almost, yeah.
Yeah. But I looked at the fixture. We've still got like 10 or 11 games. We'd be still
Yeah.
almost halfway through the season, and so it doesn't make. I mean, it's a marginal improvement on like the waiting till January, but it, like 20 games in is too late really.
Yeah.
If you want to turn it around, if we go another, if we only pick up, what have we got? So we're on 10 points or something from 9 games.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Uh,
Yeah, 11 points from 9
11.
games, yeah.
So if you're a point a game is not enough to. I mean, you maybe a point a game gets you safe by the come the end of the season, but it's not enough to do anything to make a mark of any significant way on the league. Which from all the talk and as you mentioned, like the money spent and the acquisitions and what the work that's being done, like Ajun doesn't want. I don't get the sense that he wants to be here to make up the numbers. He wants to. He wants to make an impact, to improve, improve the club, improve the results, improve the profile. Partly because of the business side of it. That if he can make the club worth more money, then it's good for him. But I think if we wait another 10 or 12 games to make a decision, it might be too late for this season, which then
Yeah.
means that so it's I don't know. I think it would have to be a markedly improved performance this weekend. I could maybe cop a loss if at least we were competitive.
Yeah.
Like if it was a 1-0 loss or something and we were in it and we had created chances and it, then I could maybe cop it. But I just, you are probably right. Realistically, it is getting close, because while there have been moments across, shot is now 7, what is it, 6 months of last season or 4 months or
Yeah,
5 months of the second half.
end of January through to now. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, yeah. So there's been marginal improvements, but it feels like a lot of the time it's the same issues that are rearing their head.
Yeah.
A lack of creativity up front, a lack of solidity at the back, and just I don't know. I defended some tactical decisions a couple of weeks ago, but I feel like he got them all wrong this morning. So
Yeah, and I feel like we did get those early season wins, and I think we're fortuitous to play Norwich, for instance, when we did, and they've basically gone on. They've won all their games since that game, and really they could have got a point or all three from that game. There was that Aaron Ramsey miss near the end, which would have taken a point for them. I think there's an element of these new guys coming. You sometimes see it with new signings. They come in, hit the ground running, and have that burst of form, and then go quiet again. Like we saw, Tufan obviously scored against Burnley. Oscar obviously has hit the ground running. Everyone now seems to be in sort of a holding pattern, and they've sort of dropped back to the pack, so to speak, where we're seeing the same issues. As you say, it's the same issues we've seen all through Shotter's reign. And I mean, there is a part of me that feels like, are we sitting here being really overreactionary just to 3 bad games? And look, we had 11 points from 6 games before this 3 games, and suddenly that looked a whole lot better. But as I keep coming back to, it's not just those 3 results; it's the performances almost all season. Where whilst we were winning, we can kind of ignore the performance if we're getting the results, but the results aren't coming now. And so maybe a Swansea game is, that's too soon to really be thinking about him going. And you don't want to set that tone for the club of, oh, we go on a bad run of 6 games and all of a sudden the manager's under pressure. But you also don't want to swing too far the other way and sort of excuse a whole run of bad performances and just let the club, as you say, you almost give away the season if you wait till the World Cup, because then you're basically saying, well, we'll bring in a new manager and we'll build up for next season.
yeah, it's super frustrating, and I think I just don't know. Like I don't know what need. I can't even. I don't know what needs to change. I don't understand. There's so much that I don't understand about what's going on at the moment. Like even the bloody commentary this morning, the stuff they were saying, and I was like, what? Because they said something about like that we should try a back four, and I was like, we've played a back four at points already this season, and we saw that it didn't work. Like, so there's parts where I go, it's not necessarily the system. There's players not obviously doing their jobs, but like we've shipped so many goals, and like I'm a bit of a fan of McLaughlin. I'm happy to admit that, and maybe I'm a bit biased. I don't know. Maybe he's not performing in training or something. But like Figueiredo has made a number of mistakes in the last few weeks, and seems untouchable. And the only way that McLaughlin got his 10 minutes the other week was because Alfie Jones was cramping up. Like, if you're gonna you can't, you have to change something. And I
Do you
think
think that the new players that have come in are verging on undroppable because they're the new crew?
in terms, I think it uh not
Like
not as
I'll
a
give you,
whole, not as a
yeah,
whole. I think like if you look at say like Estepinian and his like efforts, and yeah, he was scoring goals before. He's not at the moment, but I think he's still like trying hard and he's doing the right
yeah,
things and he's getting involved where he can. I think Tufan, again, like you go, he was like he scored that goal and we thought he's going to go on like go on a run. He's going to be dominant, and he hasn't maybe necessarily been as dominant as we wanted, but he's still like even it was what last game he got that into the
had a really
box
good
and tried
chance.
to
Yeah,
chip the keeper. He had a decent chance, I think, this morning that didn't quite work. Something maybe a shot from the edge of the box that he didn't quite connect with. Something. But he's still like he's in there and he's doing stuff. I'm actually overall pretty happy with Tufan's performances, like overall.
What
Um,
about Seri? Because he's the other one I think of. Because I think it last game he came off the bench, and Shotter actually was really forthright in his post match commentary to say, I expect him to come in and be a leader and to really lead this team, and he didn't do it. And then he started this game, or maybe that was the game before, maybe that was against QPR, and then he started the last game and started this game.
Seri is he feels like, and it probably is because of this, but he feels like a guy who is used to playing with a much better squad. Like that's pretty much how I look at it. Because the reason I feel like the reason ends up holding the ball too long is because he goes, Like it comes to him and he goes, I'm going to play it like, it's going to go to the left back's going to move up into that spot. That's where he needs to be. And that's where I'm going to play. And then he goes to take the look and he goes, he's not there. And so then he has to, come up with
Yeah.
his plan B or his plan C, because there's things, the support play isn't helping him out. But I still think he has lots of quality, and you see it like when he is able to play it, like to move the ball around and he can find those passes. He's real good at working out of trouble. Saw it a couple of times this morning. Some nice, play, some nice passing plays, some nice ball work to get it out of trouble. But I think he's one who's maybe actually being a little bit let down by the players around him.
Yeah, that's a fair call as well. I mean, I see it almost as it's almost one or the other between him and Slater. I don't know if you can play them together. I just feel like they're a bit too lightweight. Like I saw a really good suggestion of you move Jones up into the midfield alongside Seri, and that adds a bit more height and strength in there, which I think we're lacking when we just have Slater and Seri there.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I think Slater's been like, if I had to choose based on current form out of Slater or Seri, I would probably choose Slater, to be honest. I think Seri has probably a better pass, and but I think Slater's work rate um, and mobility is
Yeah,
far superior. He busts his chops every week. Slater does, and I think does a lot of good things. And he's actually and he's improved. I think he's improved so much since even last season. Like, just he's come along so well. Um, Jones, I thought, was actually, when he was in centre mid earlier in the season, the few times he played in there, was quite good, and was carrying the ball, moving the ball forward quite well, and getting into some dangerous positions. So it's not something that I certainly wouldn't be against that as an option. But I think, like, again, and that's one thing we got to figure out something to change, because what's being played every week is not working at the moment, and I think that's sort of the core issue at the moment.
the other element, which I guess we saw at the start of last season, which did change, and then we sort of started getting results, was the goalkeeper. And I don't necessarily. I mean, I said the same to Logan last week. I don't necessarily want to go dropping Ingram off one poor game, or in this case now it's two poor games. But that is sort of an option that we have with Nathan Baxter sitting on the bench as someone that we'd probably want to see in the side sooner rather than later. Talking specifically on the game, probably the second goal is probably an Ingram error, the way that he came out for that set piece. Was it set piece, or
Yeah,
was it a corner? Yeah,
I think it
and
was a
he sort
corner.
of flapped at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you see Ingram's place in the side? I mean, he's obviously making a lot of saves because he's facing a lot of shots, but doesn't necessarily mean he's undroppable.
Look, if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said, it was very reactionary to drop him, but I think I feel like over the last couple of games, and again, I feel like the faults of Ingram, again, is like a result of other people not doing their job properly. I feel like it's very similar to Seri's issues, in that he's not getting the help and the cover he needs from his defense properly. But the last couple of games, I think, particularly that, there was that the free kick or corner that he flapped at this morning, and I think even the last goal, which came from the edge of the box, and like the guy was moving across, like it just felt like he was too stationary in the center of the goal. That he should have been able to track that a little better.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I'm also not a goalkeeper, so.
yeah.
But I think I I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Baxter in.
I mean, look, we saw it
At
work
the
last
very
season, didn't we?
least,
Yeah,
yeah, and it did work. And at the very least, you're trying something different.
yeah,
Like, you go, okay, Ingram's had a couple of, we could call, I don't know if they even call them stinkers, but there's a couple of issues that, have crept in, which maybe weren't there or as clear earlier in the season. Baxter's now back, presumably fit, because he's been on the bench for the last month. Um, Throw him in, and go, well, now it's your turn to fight to keep your place, and Ingram, it's your turn now to fight to win that place back. I
Yeah.
mean, we know we have two really good quality keepers. It's not like we're going to lose anything by putting Baxter in, but we might, it might just be the thing where we can say, well, we're going to actually gain because we can make sure that they realize that competition is real for that place.
Yeah, and I think not dropping him after the Sheffield United game, where he probably should have done better for the goal, shows that it wouldn't be reactionary. They gave him another shot. He was still not great. Then you drop him, and as you say, it shows that there's that competition for places. Hey, did you have any other sort of overarching thoughts on the game before? I was thinking we do the 3-2-1 votes, and we can sort of talk about some of the players we haven't touched on yet. But were there any overarching thoughts?
Just that I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, when we play aggressive is when we play well, but we are in this really weird habit of just playing really passively and just letting the other team have the ball and letting the other team dictate play and letting them run at us, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's super frustrating.
Yeah, I saw a comment on that was basically it feels like we're sort of sitting back offsides, waiting for them to make a mistake rather than going out and forcing a mistake. And then they're not making a mistake, they're scoring goals or they're having shots. And it just feels very passive at the moment, as you say.
Yeah, well, I just think of the Estepinian, like the first goal or whatever, where he like bullied those defenders out of the way in the box and then was able to like or win it. And I can't remember, did he score or did he set someone else up? I can't remember. Did something, but yeah,
Oh, against
might have been the
Norwich.
first of his was the first of his hat
Yeah,
trick or
no, that was
was
the
it
first goal
Norwich goal?
against Norwich. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like so like ages ago, but yeah, like that was pressure, like where we were being
Yeah.
aggressive and we were pressing and we were trying to like capitalize, force mistakes in the opponent's half, not waiting for them to make a mistake in ours. And that's
Yeah.
sort of like, and when we've done that, the few times we've actually broken out of this really passive play style and been aggressive and tried to win the ball back and tried to like at least cause some sort of damage or chaos in the opponent's ranks, is the only times we've actually played convincing football. And even then it's been for like 5 or 10 minutes at a time during a game.
Same thing happened against Sheffield United. We got that tackle and broke through into their half. Roscoe ran the length of their half to have that shot. So yeah, most definitely when we actually put that pressure on, we look a whole lot better. I'll give my votes first. So I gave the 3 votes to the bloke who got hooked at halftime, Callum Elder. No idea, and he's also missed out on the Socceroos squad. So not having a good time of it at the moment from his managers is Callum. I thought he was our best player in the first half. He was making an option. He was getting wide. He was putting some great balls into the box. Looked like one of the few players really up for pushing forward until Pelkas came on in the second half. But I was just bemused. If it had been a straight swap of Elder for Pelkas, and I go, okay, like we're just going to throw on a winger and we're going for it and we're going to try and throw everything at them, I go, it's still a weird one because I'm like, maybe take off Coyle first, but I can sort of accept it. But it was Elder for Longman. And I'm like, that's virtually like for like because we seem to be playing Longman as that wing back role. And it's not as if Longman's shown anything this season so far. So, he had that chance at the end of this game as well where he just doesn't seem to have his shooting boots on this season. So that was a bit of a weird one. But I thought Elder was great. And sort of by virtue of coming off at halftime, he probably sort of protected that best on ground rating by not playing any worse in the second half. I gave the 2 votes to Pelkas because I thought he was fantastic off the bench and basically I think he needs to start the next game. I don't think he could have done a whole lot more other than score, I suppose. But I thought he basically picked up where Elder left off, where he looked like one of our few options out wide who really wanted to drive into the box and actually achieve something. And I went 1 vote for Oscar, but that was sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel with that one. He had that shot that hit the post. He does still look, as you were sort of saying before, when we're passive versus when we're actually pressing them. When he's harrying players, when he's bullying players off the ball, he looks really dangerous and he's really skillful with the ball at his feet as well. He's not one of those sort of clumsy big target men forwards. So he always seems to be able to create an option when he's on the ball, but he just sort of drifted in and out of the game, I thought. But still probably deserving of the 1 vote for that shot.
Yeah, look, I went two of the three are the same. And unless there's some blaring, obviously huge mistake that I missed in watching, which is entirely possible because I was very much like
Half asleep.
50% paying attention and 50% doing other stuff because of how average it was to watch.
Yeah,
But I guess like by virtue of being lucky enough to be performing in the 50% of the game that I was watching, I gave Slater 3 points. I thought he
fair
worked
enough.
hard again. Was involved in the few moments where we actually broke up play. Was in amongst stuff. Broke forward a few times. Helped link some stuff up. 2 to Elder. Again, as just repeating what you had said, echoing your thoughts that he was in the first half probably our best player at taking the ball forward. He put some great balls into the box, which is like our whole thing has been, and even Shotta has been about getting balls into the box for Oscar to work with. And Elder was getting down, getting to the byline, getting balls into the box, and then as you said, we took him off. It made no sense to me. I was like, I I couldn't. There's no. If I'd have thought anyone was going to get subbed off at halftime, Elder was nowhere near that. Was not even
Yeah,
on my list of potentials. So unless like he like
yeah, like an
copped a knock or
injury or yeah,
something, like, but yeah, I don't know why Longman is so high up on the list of like, as you said, he's not really showing much. So I went Elder for 2, and I went Pelkas for 1. Um, and sort of again echoing it, he was lively when he came on, tried to get involved, some nice touches, some nice play, and again, at least someone trying to get the ball into the box in that second half. So I 100% agree with you that he should start on the weekend. I don't know exactly how that looks because of like where
you
he
could
fits
almost
in. Like,
yeah. Would you bring him in? I mean, we'll talk about the Swansea game in a second anyway. But would you bring him in for Smith maybe and play him behind Oscar, and then yeah, I don't know what you do with Tufan. Then you'd almost have like Tufan, and you'd have almost like a because I think we should probably switch to a 4. I know you were saying that before, but you're saying we didn't need to before, but would you do like a 4? It's almost like a 4-2-3-1. No, I don't know. Yeah, like maybe 4-2-3-1, and you'd have like Pelkas, Tufan, and yeah, I don't even know. Like I guess Longman or someone.
can we not do Longman?
That's the problem. I was like, do we have another fit? Oh, I don't know, like Vale, maybe you throw him in just out of the blue. I
Yeah,
feel
or
like
do you
that's
do
probably a
like,
bit of a
I don't
risk.
know.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Because you've got like you've got Pelkas as a winger, but you
I'm
don't
just
have someone for the other
concerned
side.
like with yeah, it's weird. I'm trying to like figure out how you would do it. And I was like, oh, maybe you do like a 4-3-2-1 instead,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah. That's what I
it
was.
becomes like a 4-3-3 almost. But then
Yeah,
Pelkas and Tufan aren't going to be wide. So
yeah,
it's like then you're not going to have any width. Then if you're playing a
yeah.
back 4, then the
Because
fullbacks
then
aren't
your
going to
width's
overlap
coming
as
from
much.
like your width's like Jones and Slater or something. Like, well, that's not
Mm,
really like quality width.
yeah. So I'm not really sure unless you just
Yeah,
go like we're going to play down the middle
yeah,
and let them play down the outside and
yeah,
just
yeah.
stack the middle of the park.
Or play Pelkas
But
as a second striker or something. I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
Can you do that?
he could probably play up there. Play as
Yeah,
I mean, like, no offense to Smith, I thought he wasn't terrible this week on this morning, even though he got absolutely reamed by the commentators a couple of times for like because he took a shot. And I was like, he's a striker and he's on the edge of the
yeah,
box. Why can't he take a shot? And they're like, you should
yeah,
take a better option there. And I'm like, what? I was
yeah.
like, if like the, if it was Oscar who took the shot, they would have been like that. They would have been congratulating him for taking the shot. Is what I feel. I feel like they don't like Smith for whatever reason. There was a couple of clumsy challenges, but like
And also,
try.
I realized just on Oscar is that he can't beat Mitrovic's 10-10 record now. I mean, technically, if we count it from when he scored his first goal, we could, but I don't think you can. I don't think it works like that. So if he gets a hat trick against Swansea, I think he equals it. But
So
sad.
he's going to get 4 goals against Swansea then.
Well, that's true. You could get 11 and 10. That'd work. Well, cool. Because we're sort of starting to talk about the preview for Swansea, so we'll move on from the Stoke game. And just before we go to the Swansea game, we will play our Who Am I game. I don't know if you watched last week's episode, but we did finally stump Logan with a player.
I didn't. When I saw that someone had been stumped, I was going to ask who the player was, and actually, I want to know what the clues were because I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Okay.
Do
So
you remember what the clues were?
Oh no, actually, I wouldn't be able to get them.
Oh.
Well, let me see if I can pull them up. We can do this one quickly because I do have one
I'm
for
just
you.
intrigued.
I reckon this one could go close to stumping you, but we'll see. So the clues for him were 82 league appearances for City, scoring 27 league goals and 4 FA Cup goals.
27. Yeah, right. 27 and 82. That's pretty good.
That's what he said. I suspect that he could think of the player. He just was having a complete mind blank on the name. Because the second clue is that I joined City in 2011 and departed in 2014. So he joined under Nigel Pearson and he left under Steve Bruce in the Premier League.
That is like right before I started following City. So I would have been screwed on this one last week. But I'm like, who's got lots of go? Like, I don't know, just like Wild like Boyd or something like that.
Oh, that's not a bad guess. It's right around that time. I guess the hint is in the FA Cup goals because it's actually Matty Fryatt with scoring those FA Cup goals for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, let's see if you can get your one though, because this one might be a bit tricky as well. So I made 38 league appearances for City and scored 0 goals.
The 0 goals doesn't help me at all. That could be anyone.
So I'll jump to the position clue there and say I am a goalkeeper. If you hadn't guessed.
38. So that's only like.
That's like
potentially
one Premier League season.
Yeah, a season. Is this one where like he had like maybe like a few appearances like early on and then like most of a season or like close to half a season and potentially just signed for a new club?
Potentially, I think that's you've been very astute with that summation because I'll give you the second clue. I joined in 2012 and left in 2017. I joined after trialing for Nick Barmby, although he was not the manager when I signed, and I left the season that Marco Silva got us relegated from the Premier League.
Okay, so I will confirm then, and this had better be right, that we're talking about Jakupovic.
Spot on. That was good. I thought I might have stumped you that one. That was that was a good one. The next clue was actually would have helped a lot because I mentioned the playoff final, which probably would have helped. But he was in the news because I saw that he signed a short-term deal with Everton, so I thought I'd use him up. But no, that's a good get.
If you hadn't said like that it was a goalkeeper, I was honestly just thinking about like all of the shitty strikers he had, and I was like, I wonder how many appearances like Mbakani made, or like.
Oh, that's a good shout because he didn't score any goals, or like Chris Martin or someone.
Yeah,
he I don't think he scored for us. He played us. Actually, he'd have very similar stats because I think he would have played about 40 games for no goals.
Yeah,
but there you go. Good stuff. Cool. Okay. Well, we've already sort of been previewing that Swansea game whilst talking about Stoke, so we're sort of halfway there already. Swansea not in great form either. I think they've got 1 win in their last 5. They lost this morning against Sheffield United, which didn't help their cause, and they actually below us in the table. Which, believe it or not, there are some sides actually doing worse than us at the moment. I guess Perot's probably their main threat. I mean, him and Obafemi last season were scoring a lot of their goals, but Obafemi sort of dropped off a bit, but Perot started to get going. So he's probably the main threat in their side. And the last time we played them was Shotter's first game. So it was that 2-0 win where I think Walsh hit the post and we thought he looks pretty good. Let's pick him up on loan, and we know how that one turned out. So yeah, it'll be an interesting look. I mean, it's basically what we've already been talking about. It's a big game to see what the response is, to see if something clicks or cracks, and we change the formation, change the personnel, or if we just try the same thing again and hope to get a different result.
Yeah, look, I feel like they're like the definition for insanity. Same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah, that's right.
I, I just, I'm really not. I think what's frustrating though, it's this like constant cycle now of being like, what's the response going to be? Oh, that was a poor performance. What's the response going to be? And there was one time where we had a poor performance and then came out the next week and played pretty well. But I just, I'm really not that confident that we will like. I think it's like as you said, like your preseason, your red flag, your 10 game red flag of like conceding so many goals. I think that's the biggest thing that worries me is how easily we're shipping goals. I could, because at least like if you're not conceding but you're not scoring, you can jag a few 0-0 draws or something and you're still picking up some points. But when you're just leaky, then you don't give yourself any chance to pick up any points. And if you can like jag a point here and there, then you start like building some confidence, start building some level of form or something. But like, just doesn't look like like anything at the moment. So I'm just praying for not a response in necessarily from like the personnel, but I'm looking for a response from Shotta to say like these guys weren't good enough, and so I'm making a change.
Yeah,
You were
that's exactly
you were
right. Yeah.
responsible. You should have done this in this game, and it's not the first time that you should have stopped that, or you should have been in this position. And just say, so you're going to sit on the bench this week, and you're going to get a go.
So who
Um,
would you sit on the bench?
uh,
Figueredo?
yeah, look, I think he's my first one, and he just doesn't look anything like what I guess like as you were referring to earlier, that like that early doors like promise that where we thought, oh, we've got a nice commanding centre back, no nonsense, but he just looks like soft. He looks very
Yeah.
very soft defensively. I don't know what's up with his like the boots and the stability. He can't seem to stay upright. But even when he's in a like I haven't seen him win any like tussles with play. He always seems to get done.
Yeah.
So um, I think there was maybe like one good intercept where he then sort of drove forward a little bit today, and then he had a shot from like 40 yards or something, 35 yards, but just not enough in general. Like, oh, and this isn't being like saying, oh, he had a bad game this morning. I think this is saying like over the last month, he's been quite poor.
I don't think I've seen him play a good game,
Yeah,
much
well,
less that this morning was a bad game, you know?
yeah. So I think that's one, and I think like just give McLaughlin a go. And again, then it comes to like where does Pelkas? I think has to start. He seems like he's real good quality, and so they just have to figure out how they're going to fit the puzzle pieces in and what they're going to do with that. Whether that means that Tufan and Pelkas have to play a little bit wider or something to support Oscar and be the ones
Yeah.
that wrap out into the channel to play two behind him and like a narrow three, but
I was
they
thinking like a 4-3-3, but with them, yeah,
mm,
sort of sitting behind. Yeah.
something like that might work. Which would then like if they then peel out into the channels, then it would be, I guess, Slater and
Because, yeah.
Doherty or Slater and Jones or something to step then into that space
Mm,
and then leave Seri or one of those that defense that we need. I think we also need a defensive midfielder, whoever's going to play CDM to actually maybe that's Jones to really like patrol across that back line and be the one to keep them protected as well, because I don't
Yeah.
think like our midfield isn't doing that very well. So I think someone whose job is just to go like find their playmaker, find their number 10, and you just take him out of the game,
Yeah.
because there's like lots of that where their dangerous players are being allowed to do whatever they want to do. So I think possibly something like, yeah, like a 4-3-3 could work, as long as something like, I think that could work, because I mean we've seen Tufan certainly can. I mean, obviously he's not going to last 90 minutes playing in that sort of where he's got to then break into the channel all the time. But you've got three then very dangerous players up front, potentially moving towards goal. They're all good with their feet. If you can jag a goal or two, then and you have to bring on Longman later or something, or bring Smith on, then it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But I think we just have to find a way to fit all our guns in and just try and fire them, really.
Yeah, because I'm sort of in two minds on it. Is you either try and set up shop and just go, let's stop the leaking goals, grind out for a 0-0, or say let's go all guns blazing and just flip the switch. Because, like you said, like when we're playing passive versus when we're aggressive, um, I think I probably agree in terms of I'd probably go that 4-3-3. I wouldn't make too many changes. I think I would just bring in McLaughlin for Figueiredo and Pelkas in, like we're saying. But then I'd say to pretty much the entire 11, probably a couple excluded, like you said, like Oscar and Tufan probably, and then, I guess Elder maybe as well, and Greaves, I guess. Although we haven't really talked about him, but Greaves hasn't been amazing to start the season either, to be honest. But I'd be saying to everyone, this is your chance. Like, you go out there against Swansea and you put in a good performance, or else it's the international break. It's a clean slate after the international break, and we're selecting an entirely new 11 with no one's safe in that 11. It means maybe Baxter would come in after the international break. Maybe, maybe McLaughlin gets his chance in the team. You've got Doherty maybe playing instead of Slater. Like everyone, you just say to everyone, like, you've had a good start to the season, but you have to go out there and prove that against Swansea, because this is an important game. And then as a June, I'd be saying to Shotta, you've got 3 games after the international break, because I think what would that be, 13 games. I think that's like a quarter of the season, pretty much, a bit more than a quarter of the season. And you say you got 3 games. I don't even know who it's against, to be honest. I should look that up before I actually put a points total on what we should be expecting. But I think, and I actually have a feeling one of them's Watford.
Next
So
3.
yeah.
No.
So what is it? Luton?
Swansea, Luton, Wigan, Huddersfield.
Yes. Well, so perfect. Yeah. So out of Luton, Wigan, Huddersfield, I'd be saying to him that we need at least 6 points. I don't think that's at all unreasonable. You've got Wigan and Huddersfield, who should be the gimme 6 points. And if you've got a win against Luton, you're off to a great start already. Maybe you say 4 points.
Wigan's currently 8th, and Luton and Huddersfield are below us.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe.
But they're definitely gettable games. They're all definitely gettable games. Maybe you say 4 points from 3 games. I don't know what you say. Put something that's not unachievable, but something that's like you have a clear target. If he doesn't hit that after those 3 games, I think we make the change. Because then you're saying you're not being too reactionary just to a couple of games. You're giving him a decent stretch, because at that point, if we don't pick up a good result against Swansea and we don't get results against those sides, that's 7 games. I think that's a decent stretch to judge him over.
Yeah.
And then
it won't be, and I guess you're not judging him on the 7 games. We'd be judging him on what will be about 20 games or something.
That's right.
Oh no, not quite. Sorry, not quite that, because we're just the internet, not but still 15 games or 16 games, which is plus the 20 games that he had last season.
Still, that's right.
30 games, 35 games or something that we would have had, where we've picked up some points sporadically. Yeah, we got safe last season, and that was good, but as you say, we need to be improving, and so I see no real issue with what you're suggesting, saying like that there needs to be some sort of a target. Can't just keep going.
And to be honest, there probably is, because
indefinitely.
you look at Shotto and you look at how worried he's kind of getting and anxious he gets on the sideline. I think that there is real pressure on him, which is good, because I think that was the worry when he came in, that he's Ajun's mate. He was just going to have the job for as long as he wanted it, basically. I think there is real pressure on him, because I don't think Ajun wants to be throwing his money away. And Shotto will know that. And it will be interesting to see what happens if results don't get better. But speaking of results, what's your pick for result for this one?
It's what if we can play more aggressively. I feel like we can score some goals. I just also think like we're still going to concede. So I'm going to tip a draw, but I'm going to go like it's going to be like a 2-2 or something like this. I feel like there's going to be a few goals in the game. We just still feel leaky. I'm just not super confident either way, really.
When you started saying I'm going for, I thought you were going to say I'm going 4-4 or something like that. And I was like, wouldn't put that past us at the moment. Well, I guess not scoring the 4 goals, but yeah, look, I mean, if we get a draw, I'll take a draw, 1-1, 2-2, something like that. I don't think we've got a clean sheet in us. Unfortunately, I probably see a Swansea win, to be honest. I think they're getting better, we're getting worse. And they're that sort of, I don't know, I look at it 2 ways. They're that sort of skillful side rather than a physical side. So maybe that helps us a little bit in our passive playing style at the moment. But then I look at, Burnley and Norwich and so on who did pretty well against us too. So probably see a Swansea win. But, reminder as well, actually, for Australians, it is on at 9:30 this Saturday night, which is a great time slot to watch us in. It's right after the Swans prelim final. So hopefully it'll be 2 wins and 2 for my sides on the weekend. I hope the Swans win the early game and then lose the late game. I just realised playing the Swans. But there you go. I guess any closing thoughts on the game or anything else?
My own thing is like, what managers are actually like? Obviously, there's plenty of managers that are out there available, but like, who is like? Is there anyone that's notable? That's yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd necessarily want that, but and I don't think he'd necessarily come to the championship. But yeah, there's not that many.
That's what I'm like, because I'm like, not that you just go, well, we stay with him because there's no one else, but I'm like, who is actually? Is there any like good names that are out there? That's I guess like the next thing to think about.
I was just having a look because I saw that Middlesbrough were down 3-0.
Who was managing Chelsea? They just got sacked.
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel. Yeah. Or Brendan Rodgers will be available soon, I'm sure. I mean, Borough just lost to Cardiff. They were down 3-0. I saw they got 76th and 77th minute goals to lose 3-2. But maybe Chris Wilder, who was the one that I wanted originally instead of Shotto, will be available before too long. They've had an awful start to the season. But then do you want him? I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. But look, thank you for joining me for this one.
That's all right. I'm always happy to come on for a nice short episode.
Nice short episode where we have very concise thoughts on things. Absolutely. And look, thanks everyone for listening in. We do have the international break next week. So we'll be back with another episode of our flashback series, looking back at the first half of the 2014-15 season with our little journey into Europe and how that all went. So we'll be looking forward to chatting about that. But until next time, come on, City.